morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Chillin Heel Show. I am your host, Alderman in Ward 6, Chrissy Cantor, and I am super excited. We're going to have some amazing conversation, fueling our mind, body, and soul with goodness, and I am honored to be sitting next to two remarkable men, Desean and Avalon, who I've recently met. It's been a little bit. Avalon and I met about, what was it? Avalon and I met like, how long ago?
I said it had to be a couple of years ago, maybe.
Okay, and then we circled back.
At the Trump headquarters.
Yes, yes. And Desean as well, and we met.
I forget exactly where, but it's when Jay Rouet was running for mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was at the Rex Theater.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yes.
It was at the Rex Theater, and that's where we met, and I believe we chose a good choice. He became mayor. We're at one of the. It wasn't a town hall meeting yesterday. It was the.
Ward 6.
The Ward 6 zoning. Rezoning.
Yeah, the rezoning. And you live in Ward 12.
Yes.
Which is unbelievable. And you helped knock doors for Camille Craffey, my good friend. And she unfortunately is not in office, but she is an amazing, strong woman that is doing remarkable things in our community. And Avalon, you are running for state rep.
I am. I'm running for state rep. I'm currently Nashua's Ward 7 moderator, and I'm currently running for state rep and knocking on doors like crazy.
I love it. And we have a great moderator in Ward 6, too, Louise. And so what made you guys get involved? Have you, all right, so I'm actually holding this this drink that I went in 2020, right before the lockdowns and everything. I went on this amazing girls trip, my friend Sarah and their travel agents. And it was the first time I'd heard about the word Corona and so forth. And so I was like, where do we start this chillin' and chatting, segment of like, let's get real. Like, where we've come from 2020 till now. Have we always been involved in politics, community service?
Well, okay, you go.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, in 2020, I was in New York. I was a security guard. I hated politics. I mean, to be quite honest, I still do. But in 2020, I was in New York. I was a security guard, and I moved to New York just to train in like MMA and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So I was busy all day, every day, constantly training, constantly doing that. And then when COVID hit, New York completely shut down. It was a ghost town. It was almost apocalyptic. There was no one on the streets, no one on the sidewalks. And I'm like, what is going on? This makes no sense. And we're talking about getting a vaccine ready and all this stuff. And people were, like, eventually it led to people telling people they have to get vaccinated for their jobs and stuff like that. And I'm like, so you're gonna fire people for not getting vaccinated and stuff like that? So, and then it was, well, before that, let me go back. In the summer, I mean, there was, like I said, I was in New York, so there was huge mobs of people, riots and stuff like that. And it was just crazy. Windows were getting busted. I had to call my boss. Like I said, I'm just a security guard, but I mean, what am I going to do? There's like hundreds of people throwing bricks at windows.
Insanity.
Yeah, it's just, I can't do anything.
Wow.
My boss telling me not to do anything. I'm like, I'm not, trust me. I'm not doing anything. I'm just
you
letting
against
you know.
a mob of lunatics.
Yeah, like what do you expect me to do? Turn into Black Panther? I can't do anything. And then ever since then, it's been a constant government overreach almost, ever since 2020. But what I didn't realize is that it was already happening prior to 2020. This is just, it's just showing itself, it's manifesting itself on the surface now. So ever since 2020 and what I call the color revolution in 2020, ever since then, it's just been getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm just trying my best to talk to people about it, do what I can as one person to fight back against it, so.
And we can do something, one voice at a time, but we need more of our voices. And that's why I'm like so impressed, and because I woke up in 2020 from the smackdown. So I always refer to outofshadows.org was one of my awakening videos, outofshadows.org, and I highly recommend it. It just shows the breakdown of how we've been manipulated for all these years. And plandemicseries.org as well. And Avalon, I mean, have you been awakened from the insanity?
I got to be honest with you. My entire family is Democrat, and so I had the same beliefs and whatnot. I remember back in the 80s, I used to listen to my uncle, and he would discuss politics with other people. And I always thought, you know what, I would like to be just as fluent, conversive as he is. But I really woke up during the Clinton era.
Okay.
When Bill Clinton was in office, that's when I really woke up and started to think about the differences between a Democrat and a Republican. And when I did my studying, asking questions and stuff like that, I realized, you know what? The Republican Party is more aligned with my ideals than the Democrat. And then that's when I started not thinking more like a Republican, but working more and how should I say?
Getting more involved in the Republican Party?
Not just getting more involved, but thinking more. When I registered as a Republican.
Yeah.
And I voiced my views, and when I talk to people and whatnot, and they ask, well, what party are you with? Republican. And I registered just like that. And then ever since, like I said, 93, in the 90s, and I believe it was 93, I began looking at more and getting more information as far as Republican issues go, and then comparing Republicans and Democrats, and then realizing the total difference between the two. That's when I started, back in the 90s.
Wow. And I keep saying, there's this great pastor, Pastor Washington, out in New Mexico, and because it was like 2 years ago, someone told me I needed to own my white privilege. Is that own your white privilege? I think that's how they said it. Own your white privilege. I'm like, what does that even mean? And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm brown, okay? Yeah. I'm Mexican Spanish, and my mother's Canadian French. And I'm like, this is a country, we're colorful and we're beautiful. And I'm like, I don't know, I grew up in the 80s. I feel like we need to go back to the 80s. So I just didn't get this white privilege stuff. And he gave me I heard him speak. He wrote a book, How Dr. Martin Luther King's Dream Has Been Hijacked.
Yes,
and
that's true.
So I'm sharing this, and you're saying that's true.
Yeah.
So listen, everyone, you guys, Dr. Martin Luther King's dream has been hijacked, and we should not be judging each other by the color of our skin, but by our character and our actions. And we need to love on people.
It's funny you say that because it's not funny, but it's funny as in ironic because I agree with you. But when they say because I lived in New York, and New York is full of, at the time I didn't know, but full of a bunch of Marxists. There's a lot of communists there, and they don't really know that.
Yeah.
And when they say stuff like own your white privilege, even though you say you're brown, you say you're a Mexican, Hispanic.
Yeah.
They'll say, well, you're white passing. But it's like, what are you talking about?
What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like, they'll even say that about Asians. And it gets to a point where the media there's only white people in this country and black people. That's it. It's like, well, what about everyone else? It doesn't make any sense. So, like you said, the Martin Luther King Jr. message has been completely hijacked. And we have this, I'm wearing my shirt right now. You gotta be careful of the media, because the media constantly tries and get white people fighting amongst blacks and vice versa, but they don't tell you the actual story. They won't tell you that inflation is getting worse and worse. They won't tell you about the borders being wide open and slavery is happening right at the southern border.
Yeah.
They won't
Sex trafficking.
It's just
awful,
human trafficking.
Evil. Human trafficking.
I have a hard time. I read a lot of books. I have a hard time reading human trafficking books. That's insane.
Really?
I can't even read books like that because it's getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about slavery, especially black people, but there's slavery going on at the southern border. No one talks about the United Nations colluding with our federal government to come after farmers and our food supply. I mean, these are actual issues. I don't want to hear the media talking about a racist tweet, that Trump posted back in 2017. Like, that's what I don't care about.
Yeah, I've also discovered that the media they call it bleeding the story. But they would tell the story. And even the politicians, except for us. But even the politicians, well, let's put it this way.
Like play into it. And government, like this DEI and critical race theory.
Yeah.
Right,
and all this
exactly.
ridiculousness.
I believe that the racial problems in America was subsiding up to the point, well, during the Bush era. I believe that
Obama made it worse.
again, that the racial divide was closing, and when Obama, the idea of electing Obama was like the icing on the cake to seal the racial divide, where everybody can live in harmony and everybody feels fine. White people aren't feeling guilty about slavery, and black people aren't feeling that they have to constantly attack white people about slavery. But then when Obama got into office and it started, he widened the racial divide. He recreated all the racial animosity and stuff like that. And I get into conversations with people and I ask them, do you know when this racism got more, how should I say, help me with a word here.
Like got worse, or just
It just got
It got
worse.
worse. Yeah.
And does anybody realize at what point this happened? And no one, very few people realize that it started in Cambridge.
what do you mean?
Oh.
What do you mean?
Exactly. Now, do you remember the police officer in Cambridge that stopped the black guy because he thought that the black guy was trespassing or trying to enter somebody's property, somebody's home, like one of the dorm rooms or whatever? The police officer stopped the guy and questioned him and asked him for ID, and the guy got really belligerent, and he started arguing with the police officer to the point that he was arrested and I guess taken to the office and questioned, and the guy still won't properly identify himself. As it turned out, two things happened. This guy, he was a black guy. This guy, he was, I believe he was a professor. But this guy lived at the place, at the home where he was trying to get into, and had lost his keys. And the white officer that he was talking to, would come to find out that the white officer was not the racist that the black guy and the media painted him out to be.
All right.
He was actually one of these guys that teaches sensitivity courses, trying to help white people understand black people.
So it was the media trying to spin it into something that it
the
wasn't.
media and everyone that's trying to spin it. Do you remember the beer summit that Obama called for at the White House?
No. So I was clueless through the Obama era.
Same.
I really had no idea.
I was in high school.
When he realized that that there was a huge problem, and the thing is, the situation between the police officer and the resident was a local issue. It was a Cambridge issue, okay? Could be a state issue. But the federal government, Obama, chose to get involved because the black guy ID'd himself as being a friend of Barack Obama. He did. That's what he said. He ID'd himself as being a friend. So
Wait, is that one of the when Obama brought the officer and the guy to the White House?
Yes,
I remember
that's the
that.
beer summit.
I do remember that little.
Wow.
That's
I
the
remember
beer
that.
summit.
I'm
So
still
when he
clueless.
realized,
I remember.
Thank you for informing me.
no, when he realized that there was a big problem and that he was wrong,
Yeah.
he called these two guys to the
White House.
To the White House,
Okay.
dubbed it the beer summit, where they just sat back and chilled with a beer,
Yeah.
trying to mend fences and stuff like that.
At first, I didn't know. I know what you're talking about, but at
Yeah.
the time, I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, why are they at the White House?
Yeah.
And it was just like, I wish I knew more details on this at the time, because at the time, like I said, I just got into politics in 2020, so I didn't even.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Yep. It started in Cambridge, and then the whole racial divide just got wider and wider, and where we're all now pitted against each other.
And people fall for it, though.
And people believe it. People fall for it. And there are people in this country born recently. I say within the last 25 years or so, that has no idea about what's going on, but they're protesting and all kind of crap like this, like, we are owed this and we're owed that, and they have no idea what has been done for this country. I'm not saying that there are not bad things that happen in America. I'm not saying that at all. Okay, there are. But there have also been some good things that happened. People fought in wars to protect the country.
Together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah, together. Yep. And at that point, there was no difference in race. They were just brothers in arms.
Yes.
And the thing is, like, I just when it comes, because I have a lot of buddies and people I talk to, but when it comes to, I just want to say this, and I want to go back to DEI real quick, but when it comes to a lot of people, especially black people, I don't know how Avalon feels, but when it comes to like most black people, it's constant Groundhog Day for black people. It's like it's like constant, like 1950s. We gotta fight. Systemic racism, institutional racism. I will agree, institutional racism and systemic racism was a thing when Jim Crow laws were in place.
I agree with that.
It was definitely a thing.
Yep.
But it's like when you talk about it now, I get into arguments with some people, such as, like, I don't know, redlining. Some of these issues still may be on the books, but they're not enforced.
They're not enforced.
Because they just don't want to go. A lot of these institutions don't want to, like, or government programs, they don't want to go back and take it off the books and rewrite it, then issue a new book and put all this money into place to just take a couple sentences out of a huge binding document or something. But I just don't want to feel like it's just you always have to fight for something that doesn't exist. I feel like it's fake. It's not like actually a problem. But
it is fake.
But when you go back to like DEI, like diversity, equity, and inclusion, or critical race theory, I feel like they're implementing programs that shouldn't exist, like Marxist programs in schools, but claiming that governments are trying to get rid of it because it's pro-black. That when it comes to critical race theory, DEI, people are simply getting hired that shouldn't be hired. Like, it should be based on a merit-based program, not a DEI program, which is complete opposite of merit.
Yeah, you're absolutely
merit,
correct.
pass a test, you're qualified to do something, like in plumbing.
Yeah.
If someone's working on your house, or like I'm a plumber, if you send me in your house to work on your gas system, and I'm not qualified to do that, something's gonna blow up, right? I mean,
you're absolutely right. And as far as CRT goes, I have no problem with like I said a moment ago. A lot of people were born. Let's say people born in the last 25 years or so has no idea of the history of America. They have no idea of the history of black people or white people, their origins, because this country is made up of all immigrants, black and white. So I have no problem with critical race theory as far as teaching the histories of the people. No problem with that. But my problem is that when critical race theory is used to divide the races, to divide black and white. That is my problem right there. But teaching the history of black, I mean, it's just like the Bible. You can teach the Bible without teaching or trying to convert the individual to Christianity, but all you're doing is teaching the history of the Bible. You can teach the history of white people. You can teach the history of black people.
Because aren't they like?
But it doesn't have to be the quote unquote critical race theory where we're all being divided.
Because aren't it like in schools, like elementary schools, like little kids are being told they have to like atone for their racism because they're a certain race. Like these are kids, aren't they? Like in elementary school,
kids.
like
and it's white kids that white kids are being told this.
Yeah, like these are just children. Like it's
and
just
they have
weird.
no idea what's going on, and a lot of them do believe it, but some of them do go home and ask their parents, "What am I atoning for?"
Yeah, because they're elementary school kids.
What does it mean? And they're all totally confused.
I'm confused. For me, I don't get it. I'm like, to me, why would we want to make people feel bad for something that they didn't do?
Yeah.
But we always need to remember history, and that's important. History, so we don't repeat itself.
This is exactly
what's happening right now.
What I say. It's fine to teach the history of black people all the way to slavery or before. It's fine to teach the history of white people all the way to Europe, where they came from.
Which we were already doing, right? We were already doing teaching.
Right, we were already doing that, but now it is so confusing, and it's being taught from the perspective of white people owing black people, and they have to atone, and all this crap that's causing people, both black and white, to become totally confused.
It's kind of like what Chrissy said before. It's like critical race theory. You said it's fine to teach it, but when I don't think it's fine to teach it, but it's kind of been hijacked. Like they hijack it and turn it into something that is not.
It's like they hijacked the history.
Yeah, and turn it into something that is not. Yeah,
and trying to shame all of us. Yep. And it's just really.
And then when you try to stop it, the media spin it into something that is not. It's like, oh, this governor is like, racist against blacks or something, and it's like.
And back to your point of DEI. I lived in Manchester for, I don't know, 25 or better years. I came in Manchester in 1984. And I had become acquainted with a lot of the Manchester police officers. We became pretty good friends and whatnot. And it got to the point where when Manchester was recruiting police officers, it was suggested that I go and apply because I was in shape. I used to be a bodybuilder. So I was in shape and everything. And the one statement that was made that caused me to not to apply was, it would be easy for you to get in because of what is that program called again?
Affirmative action.
Affirmative action.
Yes.
It would be easy for me to get in because of affirmative action.
I get that a lot.
When that statement was made, I thought, no. There's no way I'm going to get into a program, even if I'm qualified for the program, but then be looked at as the only reason you're here is because of affirmative action.
That's what I think too. A lot of times about different positions. Is like
if I am doing something, I want it to be realized that I am here because of my qualifications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. I mean, you're qualified to do something. You're qualified to do the job.
I want nothing to do with DEI. It should die.
I love it. Yeah. You know what? I am sitting next to a remarkable, amazing gentleman, strong American values. Oh my God, good hearts. And thank you for speaking up. And I know we only have a few minutes, so I want to make sure that where do we go to get to know you, to vote for you? I know you're in Nashua.
Yep.
Do you have a website?
Well, I don't have a website, but I have a Facebook page. Avalon Lewis for Nashua, Ward 7.
All right. And we're going to have you guys, we are going to chill and chat some more
Yeah.
another time
Oh,
for
definitely,
sure. Because
definitely.
this is what we need is real conversation, heart to heart connecting, and smackdown truth.
Yep,
Right?
definitely.
I agree. Yeah.
You know, and so quick thing. Black Lives Matter.
No,
I feel like no, that's a racist terrorist
no,
organization.
it is. All life matters. Believe me, all life matters.
You even look into the organization. There's already documentaries and stuff. What's her name? Candace Owens even came out exposing Black Lives Matter. I forget the three black women that lead it. They're all Marxists. They're being led by, I forget the guy. He's a proud Marxist. He talks about taking down America 1 inch at a time. I mean, they've already been exposed. This is a Marxist, racist terrorist organization.
And
I'm just upset that Trump didn't actually label them as a terrorist organization. He did it with Antifa, but he did it with Black Lives Matter. I think he did that in 2019 or 2020 because it would just be bad optics for him, especially since everyone's calling him racist. So I think that's why he didn't do it. But it's obviously a terrible organization.
Yeah, it is.
And I know we only have less than 2 minutes. So
we'll
come back, talk about Marxism and what that really means. And yes.
Well, the one point I wanted to make, just to take off on Desean's point, is that one of the leaders, female, who convinced the group or the organization that she was black, and it turns out she was lily white. And I believe she was out of Chicago. I think she was out of Chicago. I don't remember her
Patrisse
name.
Cullors, that's one of them. Patrisse Cullors, maybe?
No, I think she's out of California.
Opal Tometi? I'm not pronouncing
Yeah,
it.
I don't recall their names, but
So we are going to have you guys back
we gotta come
for
back.
some more truth, some more great
Yes.
conversation. We love you and hope to see you at Chill Fest tonight at Stark Brewery with Sold Out Show Band. We are so blessed to have you guys on. We love Manchester. We love New Hampshire. And vote for the truth and chill on. Until next time, stay chill. Peace, love, and chill. Thank you, gentlemen, so much.
you're very welcome. Thanks for having us.